Okay, and welcome to another tutorial. In this one, we're going to try something with only 6 strings, so that should be a little bit easier for you to make. Let's kind of get into this. Alright, I've created the graph, obviously, for the 6 strings. And I'm going to start with red, and we're coming along. Just put in basically how I'm going to just start this pattern. Alright, and now I'm going to add in how the string is actually traveling behind the other stuff, right? This will kind of help me further on down the line when trying to figure out what I can do with the pattern. Now in this actual instance, I've actually made this bracelet before, so what I'm really going to do here is just for your benefit to be able to see how a complicated design can be created. So there we go, that looks pretty good. Let's next color, orange. Now I can't say this enough. You see red, orange, yellow, in most of my designs when I'm using the graph paper. The reality is even if I'm just doing this in all blue or all red or whatever, I'm still going to lay out the pattern the same way. It really makes finding an error or figuring things out or finding where your string is, it just makes it so much easier to actually visually see from the computer itself. So hopefully you kind of get the gist of that and have no trouble with trying to, transcribe one color to another. I know a lot of people seem to find a pattern online and they make it exactly to that pattern, and there's no need. There's 447 colors, so use them all, man. Just experiment and try. Okay, so now we got the orange in place. And you can see it, starting to take shape. You can see that, if your first 2 strings coming off the loop, you'll have your red, then your orange, and the next one would be your yellow. And you'll see how that is going to the red tied over top of the orange, then the red tied over top of the yellow, right? So hopefully you kind of get how the graph paper actually works as well. Haven't seen anybody complaining yet, but I suspect there's probably a few people out there that don't quite understand it. It's really simple. If in that instance where the yellow and yellow come together, you can only have a yellow nut. If a yellow and orange come together, then you have a choice. And then this actually shows you which choice was made by what fills in the larger square. And you can tell as this is starting to get further and further down, a lot more of the squares are actually filled in. You can kind of see that if you basically have started out this way, you would be able to narrow down what the last choices are and exactly where they're going to be going. Okay. Next color we have will be the green. Now at this point you're going to be able to see how when the green comes down to where that orange is, how it had to bounce the other direction, right? And as it comes down here, hit the orange and it bounces in, and that's how you get the green coming up in that next place. It's the only possible way it could have gone. The orange came down, made the corner, so the green has to go the other direction. And since we're trying to keep this pattern here consistent and sort of a fun, little, I don't know, kind of a zigzag, I guess, it makes sense that we don't change that up at this point. Obviously you could, there's all those other blue squares there to choose from, but we're keeping it kind of consistent, and that's how this basic pattern is, in my mind, was meant to look. Now, later on in some other tutorials, I'll show you how some more chaotic designs can come about and how you can actually work chaotically and make it fun. But here we go. just about done with that. Okay, blue. Wrong one. Well, I guess that's alright. Kind of purplish blue, but as long as the other purple will be different. Now I can start here because I know that that's how the patterns basically was going to go. I just have to follow those lines back. And see off the yellow there, it's going to bounce inwards. That'll create the one dot in the middle of the green. Follow that all the way up to the top. Bounce off this red, bounce off the yellow. And the blues all the way to the outside. So you can see the bracelet would start red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and then now the purple. Since I've already done it on the right hand side, matching it up to the left hand side like that, that was relatively easy. There we go. The center square there is done. That comes out to the green, comes back in. Wait, that will be the blue. So let's see. The right. I'm using my Wacom there to pick up the blue again, bring that further down. If you don't have a Wacom, I highly recommend maybe picking one up. I know it's not supposed to work with Windows 10, but I managed to get mine working just fine here using GIMP, and I find it really indispensable when it comes to this kind of work. Just really just makes it so much easier than, say, just using a mouse, or worse, maybe just the touchpad. Okay. There we go. All right, so now go back, finish up this purple. Use nice high contrasting kind of colors. I know it seems like I kind of use the same ones a lot, but it really is. It's just easier to see what you're doing. Okay. Get this other one down. All right, now if we come back up to the top, you can see where we left off with the red. We now will have to carry that along, and it's going to follow up pretty much along the same path with the purple. So not off to the right, it'll come in here past the orange and inwards, bounce off the purple, bounce off the yellow, and into that center spot again. Now at some point here, I'm sure I would be able to just go ahead and just start making it and see where this took me once I figured out like the beginning strings. But I'm showing here, hopefully, that you'll get the sense that you can sort of figure out what you want to do beforehand. It can save you a lot of string from experimenting if you like. So, let's see. Alright, so this will be the red diamond. Kind of a little something in the center. I really enjoy making bracelets really symmetrical. So now let's trace this one back the other way. And see if the one that already came through, you can kind of use it as the mirror image to see where this one is traveling. It bounced off the yellow, it'll bounce off the yellow again, bounced off the blue. And notice with these nice contrasts, it's really easy to see how it flows along. So now we can do the orange. Okay. Orange all the way to the center thing. Let's trace it back before I get too far ahead of myself. There we go. There. Okay, that looks good so far. Now the orange comes down to the diamond. And hang on, that doesn't look like I wanted it. Let's see. If I do it this way, I end up with a little set of 4 in the center. That would be like a yellow. Let's bring the orange outwards. And that way I get a little dot in the middle. So the yellow will be inside of that, and then just the green dot. Okay, so that's easy enough. Just swap those out. Grab up the blue, replace those little ones. Okay. Grab the red. Yeah, so that's a whole lot easier than actually having to undo a bunch of knots, right? Sort it all out here on the graph paper first and just run with it. So it'll be the red that comes down. There. Okay. All right. And you can see how it sort of makes this the centerpiece kind of almost like how a watch would be, you know, with the main part being right in the center of the wrist. Okay, now I'm going to bring the yellow down. You can see there's not a whole lot left to this portion of it. Everything's filling in. There's no blue squares getting left behind. You can see where the green is going to be left to have to go. So definitely a good sign that nothing has gone wrong so far. And now the greens. Like I was saying before, there it is. The green goes to that centerpiece. Now essentially, this thing is symmetrical from that actual center right there. So by right, you really don't have to fill in all the rest because you could just take the pattern, flip it upside down. But I'm going to just carry this out just a little bit more just to kind of show you in case you're working on something perhaps a little bit more difficult. Let's see. So grab up this blue, bring it along. And the purple. Okay. Purple would follow outside of the red. Like I said, this is exactly symmetrical to the other side of it. If you cut the image in half and flipped it over, you could be done already. All right. So the purple goes out 2 more. There we go. Makes a little diamond. After the purple is the blue. Next will be the green. Grab up the green again. Okay. I think at this point you can kind of see how this whole bracelet's going to take shape, right? It's a nice pattern. I've had a lot of success with this kind of design. A lot of different alternative ways you can make this. Once you basically have this pattern down, go ahead and experiment around with your colors. Try some fades, try some variegateds, going through it. A lot of fun stuff. Okay, bring this orange. And we know that we start with the red, so take a look at this. Grab the red. So the orange doesn't come out all the way because the red will end right there. Right? Green goes in the middle of the yellow, the blue goes into the middle of the green, purple goes into the middle of the blue, red goes into the middle of the purple, and the orange goes into the middle of the red. So, hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully you guys can make some kind of sense of this. I want everybody to be able to succeed. There it is. Look at that. All right. And here a second, I will make it up and we'll have a look at how that is. So what do you think? I didn't exactly use the bright colors like the graph paper showed. Kind of used a little bit more muted. But I have to say, yeah, that's definitely kicking it, right? All right. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, please, by all means, contact me. There's so many ways you can. And I'll see what I can do to teach you in the next video. All right. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, do click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you have any questions you'd like answered in future tutorials, leave a comment below. For more on friendship bracelets, visit AKAAWOL.com. Also, be sure to hit me up on Instagram at AKAAWOL. Thanks for watching, and don't get your strings in a bunch.